Awesome.
Hello and welcome to Vitality Women Leading Audaciously. Today, my guest is Maya Gaddie. I'm so excited to have her. She's my first guest from Africa, like all the way. She's sitting right now in Africa, even though her address is in California, which I need to ask her about.
Yes.
Anyway, it's a joy. It's a joy to have her as a female entrepreneur and a powerhouse. So, Maddie, tell us about your story. How did you get to where you are, and what were the kind of milestones or touch points that led you there?
Yeah. So let's see. I grew up in Southeast Louisiana, just outside of New Orleans. And so I feel like I have this kind of raw, gritty, real kind of nature to my work. I left corporate though back in 2011 and decided to start my own business. Mostly started working with Silicon Beach, Silicon Valley guys around tech support, tech system, backend, and tech, and really saw a need with the few women I was working with at the time to help with tech, and also had a lot of questions around how can I create a program online? How can I take what I'm already doing with my clients and put that into something, an actual product that I can package and sell and really get great results from my clients, and then also continue to grow my business online, right? So that was around 2011. I had my first online class. This is how to tech from that. And then from that, one of the most popular modules in that program was Launch Your Class. And Launch Your Class became a program instead of just a module. And really, it feels like I've just been iterating on that for this is my 10th year in business. So probably around 7 or 8 years, I've been iterating on that. So Launch Your Class became a concept to cash flow, which essentially helped you take an idea and make sure that you got your first few clients. And then I started doing that one-to-one as well as live groups and workshops. So yeah, it's just been an iteration of sorts.
That's fantastic. A couple of questions that I have for you on that. So 10 years is a long time to iterate on something. Like, do you find like you want to think about new things and do new things, but you stop yourself because you know that this works and this is in demand?
Oh, that's a great question. So I would say in the first few years, maybe I took up all the space of like, ooh, let's try this. Ooh, let's add this in. Ooh, let's do this bonus, right? And so I was always adding in something new. And then I felt, sometimes things are getting diluted or even the message is getting diluted in terms of what I want to get across and who I want to work with and that kind of thing. And so I pulled back from doing that for the most part. I wouldn't say I don't experiment or explore. But I guess what I find now, 10 years in, is I really enjoy the work. There's a lot of variety in helping people create their online programs, their signature programs. So it doesn't really get boring, right? You could do it with almost anything as long as it's actually something that you're helping your client or you're helping your customers get a particular result
Mhm.
at the end. So it can be
Yeah.
applied so many ways.
Do you think that the bonuses and those other things that you were trying to do in the first couple of years, do you think that was like, do you think it was because you were avoiding something or you were just trying it on?
I think it was both, to be honest.
Yeah,
I
no, I'm
think
just
it
curious. Yeah.
was,
Thank you.
yeah, I think I was trying it on because I was curious and I was like, oh, I have this idea and I have this thing I want to do. And what about this? Right. So I was just kind of throwing it all in there. But I also think in the first few years, I was avoiding perhaps, growing and focus. Whereas now I think I really enjoy so many parts of my program. Like I really enjoy when I help my clients create, right? Actually writing or creating the video. I really enjoy the tech part and I really
Mm,
enjoy helping them get their next round of clients or to fill, the first round or the next round of their signature program.
that's
So
amazing. Nice.
yeah, it's you kind of get to touch all of those pieces, right? But I don't perhaps I also didn't know that in the beginning, right? So it's a
Right.
little bit of test and trial and error too. Yeah.
Yeah, well, a lot of people in my audience are health coaches that I've trained or who've done programs with me and who are really wanting to, like, they have a day job still, but they want to like take their understanding of what ideal health looks like and create a program for people because they really want to help people. They genuinely want to help people. And they want to do an online program. Now, over the years, I've been building online programs for, oh gosh, I guess like 6 or 7 years. And I've literally earned companies millions and millions and millions of dollars. So, and I know that all the students, the thousands of students that have gone into these programs, I mean, I read their feedback forms. I know that the programs work and they make a difference. So it's like so exciting to understand the power of leveraging your knowledge through an online program.
Yeah.
And you know that firsthand, right? You've been doing this for a decade, you said, so you understand that too. And so one of the things that I hear a lot from these health coaches is, yes, the technology piece is huge, like they don't know how to do it, but now there's Kajabi, there's Thinkific, there's all these different software programs that you can kind of plug and play. Do you recommend using those?
I think it's a good idea. Yes. So my answer is, I really love to play and dabble in technology and the stats and look at the numbers and reverse engineer. Like those things are fun for me. But also, when I work with my clients, I don't expect them to be an expert in that or even
Right.
necessarily enjoy it. I really want them to pick something that is simple for them to use, for their clients to use, for their clients to pay them, and that's it, right? Something
Right. They
that
have made
is
it really simple.
easy. Yeah.
They really have.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite of all these companies that are out there right now? One that you think is the best for the user and for the creator?
I use Pay Membership Pro, which is a little bit more complex. It allows you to customize, and I actually don't typically recommend starting with that one. But even with that one, it can be simplified. It's just not quite as easy.
And that's
So
an LMS.
it can be combined. It's basically a WordPress plugin. It's a more
Oh, okay.
complex WordPress plugin. Yeah.
Interesting.
You
Okay,
can
yes,
do
that's
some
super
coding
techy.
with
Like you have to
it,
know,
right?
yeah, you got to know your stuff.
But you can also keep it really simple and just use it to lock your program and do some basic stuff, but it's still going to be more complicated than something else. So teachable is typically my go-to.
Really?
Um, yeah, yeah,
Nice. That's
really,
good to
really
know.
simplified for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love how you said that because I mean, I think in like such complexity, and I know that the people are not like that's not a good trait. Like you got to really simplify it. I mean, and for me, that's like a challenge. It's like, I really got to go in and dig deep to simplify.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the other
It can be
day,
hard. Yeah.
I know a client was like, so she's doing this 21-day program with me and she's super jazzed and she's got all the shopping lists. She's gone pantry, she's cleaning house, like she's really getting ready. And she's like, how do you make celery juice? And like, it didn't even dawn on me that like, of course, like she might like someone might need to know how to make celery juice because it's like it didn't even dawn on me, right? I know that's so silly, right? For me to admit that, but cause it's so obvious. Like, of course, you just put the celery in the juicer, but that's it. She needed it really broken down and explained, and I took a lot of joy this morning, like filming a video specifically for her, like, hey,
Here's
this is
how to
my
do this.
juicer.
Yeah.
Here's my celery.
Yeah.
That was so great.
Sometimes visual helps though. A good visual will really kind of like help things along so much, I think, in the program. Yeah.
Yeah,
Or working
absolutely.
with clients. Yeah.
And another thing that I hear from a lot of my mentees is that they have a hard time getting clients. So part of that equation is that they're afraid to come out of the closet about, what they do because they're known as like maybe, the family business soon to be, CEO. It's a tile company or something, and somebody else, is maybe just a wife and she's not really ever worked. And so it's like, I mean, like, where do you even start? I mean, because it's like, is it
Mm,
Instagram? Is it Facebook? Is it YouTube? Do you do your YouTube channel? Do you do IG live? Do you do reels? Do you like, how do you attract people? You like, there's so many options. They're just like overwhelmed and then lost and then stuck. And then it just dies on the vine. And it's really sad to see sometimes.
yeah. Yeah. I think you have to pick and you have to focus. It's helpful to have someone you're working with or a mentor, typically an outside source that's not necessarily a friend, right? I think it's always good to have a friend for support, kind of like a
Mm,
cheerleader.
mhm.
But I also think if you're simplifying it, right? If you're focusing on it and saying to yourself, what can I do? that's really going to help me move my business forward, start to get new clients and continue to get clients, not even just get one client, but right, figure out how am I going to get a regular stream of clients. I think it's a couple of things. I think it's one, deciding what platform really works for you and knowing yourself, right? So maybe that's writing, maybe that's talking, maybe
Hmm.
that's being in groups, whatever that is, but really
Right.
nailing down exactly what that is.
And you can nail
And
that down based on just feedback that you're getting, right? From the engagement. I just want to just pause right there. Just when you say
Yeah,
that.
no, good question. Yeah. I think it is feedback. I think, well, one, I think it's knowing yourself. Like, what do you actually enjoy? So don't do it, even if you're great at it and you're getting wonderful feedback. If it's excruciatingly painful for you and it's not something that you can hand off to a team member, or you don't have a team member
Mhm.
to hand it off to quite yet, then don't do that. Right.
Got
So,
it.
first, I think it's really deciding what's going to work best for you, what's that medium, and then looking at engagement from
Love that.
clients, potential ideal clients, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Nice. And then you figure out your platform, and then you were gonna. There was the next step.
So after that, I think it's really about figuring out what is your client path, right? So I think we all commonly know that as a sales funnel. I like to call it a client path because it's really just you kind of metaphorically holding their hand down to, okay, here's what it is, here's how it can help you, here are the common things I see, here are the results I get, and here's how we can work together essentially.
Yeah.
And so I don't think it necessarily has to be super complicated. I
Mm.
think that a lot of times we think, okay, we got to have these seven, however many pieces you've learned, right? Whatever the standard you've learned, pieces to the sales funnel. But oftentimes it's going directly to the source, having a conversation with the clients you actually want to work with or you think you want to work with, making a clear offer, figuring out what worked or didn't work with that, making adjustments, and making the sale, right?
Yeah. And then
So
there's
that's
this
the
balance.
simplified version,
Well,
but
no, I
yeah.
love it. It's really true. And so it is simple, but there's a balance between like being authentic on that platform and also selling. And
Yeah.
I find it's really like an art, actually.
Yeah, it is. I think you hit on something earlier, where you're saying visibility, right? And so, like, kind of like showing up of themselves and really putting themselves out there, putting their business out there. That seems to be so common that that doesn't happen. But I think also, I've seen a lot of clients, various stages in business, who are afraid to put themselves out there, be like, oh, I got to go all in. I got to do all the things. I got to show up everywhere. And I think that's the key. You don't have to show up everywhere. You need to show up where it really is going to make a difference, where your ideal clients are or where they're already being served, that kind of thing.
I love that. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
It's really like um this is a time I feel for people to really start sharing. And I think online programs are just the best way. I really do. If you can get people to enroll. So how do people find you who want to learn more about
Yeah.
your work, and what would you like people to do?
Absolutely. So there's two places to find me. I'm on Instagram, Maya Gaddie. You can also see some of the behind the scenes travel stuff happening there, some of the fun stuff. And then mayagaddy.com, you can find out more about me, see some client testimonials, and just like how to work together.
Nice. I love it. So, our podcast is all about vitality and how you cultivate vitality. And it extends past just food, fitness, and mindset. Cultivating vitality is like getting nectar, when the plant bears fruit. Because, like I have plants that I just planted in the last couple of years and they're still not bearing fruit, right? Like that plant needs consistent water, sunshine, nutrients in order to actually bear fruit, right? And and I don't mean that so much as like fertile, even though it is technically fertile, because I know a lot of women have shame around that if that's not happening for them. But not necessarily bring that into this space. But Maddie, how do you balance your life in terms of the travel and your business and your clients and then your own self-care? What is it that you do?
Yeah, so I feel like there's a couple things. I actually have a workshop on self care, but it's almost just like a talk and sharing what it is that I do. So, but to kind
Mm.
of give you a big picture overview, some highlights, I suppose. So, I typically take the last week of the month off from phone calls. I'm around, right? So clients know that they can always message me and ask questions, that kind of thing. But I look at that as a week for implementation for clients and a down week for me for planning for the coming month to really just kind of like rejuvenate, have a bit of downtime away, and get excited about coming
Mm.
back to phone calls, one-to-one calls, group calls, etc. In the rest of the weeks ahead. That's one thing. Another thing I do is I travel a lot, and so I really typically travel seasonally. Sometimes I am based in California, so sometimes I'm in California. Other times I'm somewhere else in the world, but really kind of like slow travel and easing into bed and having an opportunity to kind of explore my surroundings, but also allow myself to be easeful in my work and kind of have my regular morning routine and have my Thursday calls. As I mentioned, I typically have client calls and that kind of thing on Thursday. So I guess I
Nice.
have certain routines and rituals. And then finally, I guess I would say I love a good massage and Reiki
Mm.
and meditation, right? So just kind of like some grounding, right? If I feel like I need to focus in, I'll often sit on the floor, right? So I think it's simple things
Yeah.
and knowing yourself and what you need to add into your daily practice or your weekly practice kind of
I
thing.
love that. I don't know if you know this, but one of my mottos is your daily practice is your strongest medicine. So I love the language you're using.
Oh,
Yeah, it's so
I
perfect.
love it. I love it. I
Yeah,
love it. That's awesome.
it's so good. Yeah, it's so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that with us. And so curious though, what's the travel for? Just for family, fun, business? What is it? What is the source of your travel?
Mostly for fun. I think I had this idea when I first started business that I would travel and do talks. People still do them. Well, you might have a gathering or a retreat locally or something. And I'm sure I'll get back to that. I think I've been extra cautious given the pandemic and such. But really, right now, it's just been for fun and pleasure for the most part.
That's great. Well, I've never
Yeah.
been to Africa. I hope one day to get there. I hear it's magnificent.
Yeah, yeah, it's been amazing. Super calm. I mean, I wouldn't say that about the traffic. I wouldn't say about the traffic anywhere, but
Right.
yeah, it's been just, relaxing to be here. Yeah.
So exciting. I love traveling. I spent most of my life until my daughter started school traveling. So from 18 to when she landed in kindergarten, I had like a nervous breakdown. I was like, oh my
I can't go
God.
travel. Yeah, I
Yeah.
know.
But, just like you were talking about with the focus and then the iterations inside of that focus and how rich it is. And a similar thing happened to me. It was like, oh, I got to be grounded and so much could happen inside of those relationships and business and, so many things. So,
Yeah.
it's possibility everywhere you look, actually, no matter what's happening in your life. And do you have any like last words of wisdom you'd like to leave our listeners with before we
Oh,
close?
yeah, that's a great question. So I would say, kind of going back to online programs, courses, signature programs, in the way that I teach it, but I really think that this mostly applies whenever you're creating a course, is never forget that you always have an opportunity to use it in a variety of ways. You can take that course and grab a module from it and create a webinar or create a lesson or create a workshop. You can take that course and use it as a retreat, right? So that's one of the things that I love about signature programs, online courses, is that it is multi-purpose and it really gives you an opportunity to have a body of work to pull from and just use it in a variety of ways.
Amazing. Such great advice. Thank you so much for being here with us today. You are an inspiration.
Oh,
And
thank you. Thanks for having me.
yeah, and thank you for
Yeah,
your wisdom and all the work that you're doing. Thank you.
sure. Thank you.